Hello, my God fearing, patriotic proteges. I want to tell you a little funny story this morning about a friend of mine. But let me give you a little bit of background so you have context. So, uh, I come from the land of recovery. I went through the Waterfront Rescue Missions Drug and Alcohol Recovery Program years ago. And after I let Jesus finally take over the throne of my life, and he changed everything about my world. Then I started helping other people do the same thing because, like, once you find freedom, you want to share it. And, so I started helping and mentoring other guys to do the same thing. Man, I had this one friend. His name was, we'll keep it anonymous and we'll just call him Joe for the sake of the story. But Joe was a really good guy, but he had a real severe issue with alcohol dependency. Like, he couldn't get off of or get out of the bottle, and so he started working the program, and he started doing really good. But he would get so far in his recovery, and then he would just dive back into the bottle, and you know he would he, he would come across a problem or a circumstance that would just catch him off guard, and instead of facing it and dealing with it, he would dive back into the bottle. He would turn into an ostrich and just bury his head in the sand or into the bottle, and ignore the problem until it was no longer ignorable and he had to deal with the consequences. And then he would get sober, and he would do fine again for a little while. But then he would do the same thing and he would go back to the bottle. And I was talking with him one day about this after seeing this go down about 5 or 6 times. And I said, Joe, what seems to happen is life will throw a circumstance at you, and you can't deal with it. It makes you lose focus, and you can't cope, and so you turn to the bottle. And I think that when you see a problem, you automatically go to the bottle instead of the solution. And if you would do this one thing, I think it would really help you. If you would just shift your paradigm, if you would change your perspective so that when you see a problem, you don't call it a problem, you call it an opportunity. And I think you would be successful, and this would help you tremendously. And so he thought about it for a minute, and man, this is where recovery can not only be fun but also funny. Because he thought about it for a minute, and he looked at me. He said, "Pastor Tony," he said, um, uh, with that new understanding, I think I do have a realization. Uh, I said, "Well, Joe, what is it?" He said, "Well, if I shift everything from problem to opportunity, if I quit thinking about my problems as problems and look at them as opportunities, it just dawned on me that I have a serious drinking opportunity." I said, "Man, that is not what I was going for." But y'all, there's humor in this, and I want to tell you, Joe's doing good today. He's changed his life around. God's done a miraculous work in his life, and it's good to see Joe prosper. But if y'all are, or if you're watching today and you're walking through this recovery thing, and you're learning to live sober and free, let me encourage you. There's hope. There's hope in Christ, and sometimes there's hope in laughter too. If you can stand downwind of yourself and laugh at the situation, it gives you a new perspective, and with that new perspective comes hope. Well, y'all, be encouraged today, and remember, stay salty and shine bright, my friends. God bless.